Good morning. Hey, Sam.
Good
Hey, what's going
morning.
on? How are you?
Oh, just, another day in paradise.
What you say every day. I love your attitude.
Well, what are you going to do, right?
Right. We're gonna wait just a few minutes just for people to come in. So what's been going on? I saw you had a class live yesterday. Was it yesterday?
Yeah, I do those kind of periodically, just when I feel like it. I used to be a lot more scheduled with it
Mm-hmm.
back when COVID started, just mainly for me, because it gave me some community, and I've kind of gotten away from it, and I really need to kind of get back to doing those because they're kind of fun. I enjoy them.
And we like them. Like I log in when I can just to see what's going on. But you're patient because I'm gonna tell you, I was on one live. I think it took you 2 hours. What were you making? I think you were making I think you were making an incense holder.
Oh,
Do you
like the
remember that
feather,
one?
one of the feather ones.
Yeah, one of the feather ones. But I really enjoyed it because it's like, you're just talking and like you said, it's community, but you're actually teaching us something. I was like, it takes him a long time to do one thing. Blacksmithing is not for me.
It does take. It has taught me patience. Well, let me rephrase that. It is teaching me patience.
Right. It is
I
teaching you
haven't quite
patience.
learned it yet. Yeah.
All right. So for those who are just joining us, first of all, good morning. Good morning. Most of those joining us today are probably people that you sent over, and they may not know me. My name is Kendra. I'm a medium, an intuitive, and I'm doing this series because I really wanted people to get an inside view of my world and the people that spirits in my way, the people that really make an impact on my life. And so I basically called it So Fam Collabs and Convos. And so I want people to learn what I've learned from those who have been placed on my path. And Sam has been placed on my path, and I truly believe that he's one of those people that really stood out. I was I was brought to him through the Morrigan, the Irish goddess Morrigan. She is one of the only deities thus far that I believe that I was called to serve. And for those who, I have a lot of people who are in um, different levels of their learning with their intuition and their psychic abilities, whatever they call themselves, whether it's a witch, a practitioner, a druid, or whatnot, they come and they're not really sure what's next, what energy is calling them, and what kind of practice they are willing to move forward with. And so I try to answer a lot of those questions on my feed, just through my own experiences, because really that's all I've got to go on because I'm kind of self-taught as well. And so Halloween, probably about a year and a half ago, I was called by what I believed was some type of energy as I was reaching out to the grandmother I never knew. Because I'm a medium, it's really easy to communicate. But for this spirit, it was not so easy. What showed up over a 2-week period was a series of a lot of dreams of crows. I was being chased. There was a lot of blood. There was a lot of battle. And there was a feeling of being haunted. And so, of course, I went to the Google, right? And I typed in, what is this? How do I know what's really going on? And so I didn't even type in a specific phrase. I did mention the Morrigan, but what popped up from the first listing was Laura O'Brien's YouTube, and it basically said, "How do I know that the Morrigan is calling me?" And so that's kind of how I found Laura, the school that she and John have developed and now manage, the Irish Pagan School. I had no inclination to take any of those classes, but once I joined community, I was sort of like smitten with it. I felt like I had found home. And so I took a 6-month Morgan intensive with Irish Pagan School, and that's where I met Sam. So welcome, Sam. Right? So let's go ahead and get into your bio, a little bit about your background, and then your questions, okay?
Okay.
For nearly 5 years, Sam has been bound to the Morrigan and is now embracing, read that as pushed into, kicking and screaming, right? The role as her priest. He says the last half decade has been a whirlwind with herself and has felt a bit like drinking from a fire hose most of the time. I concur. And I would not change a thing. I don't know if I concur on that one, but we'll come back to it. A big part of his work with the Morrigan is blacksmithing. He considers himself a primitive blacksmith and enjoys bringing magic into his sacred smith work. It brings him a deep delight to co-create metalwork for people, both for their magical working and items that can easily become heirloom pieces. Several times a year, he hosts weekend primitive blacksmithing intensives and magical blacksmithing weekends at the Ravens Keep Forge, located on the land he caretakes, Shadow Sanctuary in North Carolina. Again, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sam has made a lot of the pieces that I use in my work. I use a ton of tools. Not everybody uses tools when they're doing magic or if they set up an altar, but I actively use those tools. And when I see his face, I don't ask questions. I reach out and I say, I need something. He's like, what do you need? I'm like, I need some bent nails. I need some copper. I need you to do this for me. And he kind of makes magic happen. So I'm really thankful for you. So let's go ahead and get into it.
I'm thankful for you. It has been a joy to share this path as we've crossed. I've really enjoyed your energy and your big heart.
Aw, thanks. That's the first time I've ever heard that. It's kind of shut down sometimes. But for you, Sam, it's a little bit different. So give us some background about yourself, including spiritual leanings and interests. Do you consider yourself a pagan? You say you're a priest. So talk a little bit about what that means for you.
Okay. Well, there's a lot kind of wrapped up in that. All right. So I guess I've been on a pagan path probably for the last 25-ish years, maybe close to 30. Probably a lot more Wiccan, and was really more involved into archetypes, right? Just, the, God and goddess, just kind of, looking back on it, kind of felt kind of meandering, just kind of wandering through, and I'll pick some of this and play with over this and not really developing any type of what I would consider deep relationship, other than just those archetypes as a whole. Not from lack of trying, just never had kind of a call, lack of a better word. I really don't like that word, but I've tried to work individually with certain deities and tried to develop a deep dive kind of relationship. Just nothing ever really kind of clicked, lack of a better word. And tried, I dabbled in Hinduism a little bit and focused on Druidism for a little bit and just kind of, like I said, just kind of, frolic through the woods, so to speak.
Do you have a Christian background? Did you grow up Christian? Okay.
Southern Baptist.
Okay. Wow.
Primitive.
That's
Southern Baptist.
You're like, it's Southern Baptist. There's a difference, right?
Yes. So, my grandfather was a Southern Baptist minister, so I was raised in the church.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually went to seminary.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a lot of things I don't talk about. But yeah, was a religion and philosophy major in college, and whoever came up with that major just, I don't know. You've got black and white, and then you're going to throw in some gray. No.
Right.
Anyway, and as far as getting involved with the Morrigan, I remember the evening very clearly. Was sitting on my back porch, having an adult beverage, and she just kind of showed up, and she said, "I want you. I have work for you to do."
You said she just kind of showed up. You tell me exactly what that means. Did you see her? Did you hear her? Like, what does that mean?
It was more of a feeling, hearing, kind of kind of in your, I guess, in my head, lack of a better word. I kind of felt that presence. And it was the Morrigan to me in my relationship with her has never really been scary, right? Don't take that as I'm not afraid.
Right.
I'm just, and I remember when she came, I have work for you to do. I need you. And I laughed, literally. I mean, where I laughed out loud. And, my wife comes running outside. What's wrong? Because it's like this insane laughter I'm having. Like, no, no, you don't. I'm good. I, and so we went on this kind of path back and forth over probably 6 months to a year, kind of back and forth, and I'm just kind of ignoring it, and
Mm.
no, yeah, no, not, you must be mistaken.
It
yeah,
gets stronger,
yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah. This is not the droid you're looking for.
Right.
You know. Um,
Exactly.
and then finally, I was like, all right, let's roll, let's do it, right? So I dedicated to her. This was before I knew that people could actually limit their dedication. And I don't know that I would have anyway as far as a contract, because I'm just not, I'm an all-in kind of person anyway. So I don't know if I would have narrowed it, for me specifically, narrowed it down. So I just kind of went all in, and said, what, okay, let's do it. And accepted the fact that looking back at it now, because I wrote it down, I had to actually go back and revisit it, about 6 months ago, what my dedication was, and realized that I had dedicated to her as a priest, which was not something I ever wanted to do. I don't even remember writing it. And I remember as we were doing the tail end of our intensive, and I was fighting it then because it's not something that I wanted to
Really?
do. Yeah. Because I mean,
You're like, hell yeah, I didn't want to do that shit.
I mean, that is I don't take things like that lightly, right? And that's a lot of responsibility,
It is.
and it wasn't something that, some of that imposter syndrome kind of probably walked into some of that too. But so I did go back and kind of rededicate. I hate that word, but accept that role, that she kind of placed before me. And, that's, it is what it is, let's do it, so it's not a matter of, trying to wrestle with it at this point. Um, so as far as being a priest of hers, I see it as being in service to others. In fact, I remember when I was going through that 6 months or so ago, I kind of pictured it as me being a ship at dock,
Mm-hmm.
right? I was safe, right? I was kind of in my own little world. I'm up here, in the country, kind of, I'm enjoying my hermit status, right? Doing
Love
my
that.
field
Yes.
work, and then she very clearly kind of let it be known that that's not what ships are for.
Oh, I remember this
You
analogy. You
remember that?
actually said that in a comment, and I was like, it was almost like an epiphany. Like, oh my God, you're right. Like, we're safe at harbor, but are we
Yeah.
really supposed to be? It's nice to be. It's to play it safe, because I truly believe that she comes with a lot of risk, and she pushes us to take those risks that we're so scared to take because we like safety.
Well, I mean, who doesn't? Everybody likes
Right.
comfortability. The human nature, I think, is striving for comfort, and she is not comfort.
Nope. Not at all.
And I don't mean that negatively,
Not at all.
right? I don't mean that negatively, because I mean, I am so much. I think I am so much more of a person now because of her. But it hasn't been comfortable. I mean, it's been a lot of work.
Yeah. And I like what you said. I want to go back to people that are considering learning more about deity, specifically the Morrigan, and how to get connected to her, but don't realize that it's not a service to her specifically. Like you said, it's to community, and it's a service to others. So although we are working on her behalf and she's walking alongside us, of us, I do think it's very important that people know that this is about community and what we can do for others, because we don't do this alone. It's like, well, it's nice to dedicate to the Morrigan, and you know, every day you come up there, you do your thing, you say your prayers, but what are you doing outside? So the community aspect of it is what I love and why I kind of brought you on, because I do see that you're building those communities, and that's a really important part of priesthood.
And it's not something that's, I would kind of consider part of my nature now, but I do see, because the work that I'm doing now, being a combat vet, I work with the Veterans Treatment Court, right, for veterans that have run afoul, of the law or whatnot, nonviolent crimes, and they're trying to reestablish them, getting them back into society. So I work with vets on that. That's kind of what started my community outreach. It's not really really good work. Now I've started, lack of a better word, a study group, is for people that want to learn a little bit more, just trying to give them in my own kind of community, people that I know, trying to, as it is right now, kind of putting them into touch with what I think of as correct information, right? So, once again, there's a little bit of prejudice there because it's my thought of it. For it being lore based, people that have an interest, because there's so much misinformation out there. I got kind of a little bit involved in the misinformation just because I didn't know better, right? You learn more, you do more, right?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
And then again, I do a lot of magical work with my blacksmithing on her behalf. Because I think there's a great need for it, and two, there's a realness to it. Anybody well, I mean, you can speak to it. I mean, you get a piece that I forged magically because it's a different process.
It is.
It's different than just a piece of metal.
You feel it. You put everything, you put your service, you put your belief, your very strong belief, like everything, every single piece that I get from you, I know is going to amplify my work. All of my prophecy work, all of my writing and my poetry. I know that a lot of people dedicate to the Morrigan because they are social activists, or they are in the military, or like you, like a former vet, or current vet. But I am more with her for the prophecy work, the dream work, and the poetry. And so your tools are not just for the warriors, in a way that it's like physical battle. Your tools are for all warriors, and those warriors look very different. And so I so appreciate the time and the energy that you put into it, because you can feel the realness. It's very different.
And I think that's one of the misconceptions about her, is that she's just, I mean, she is a warrior goddess,
Mm-hmm.
but she's so much more.
Exactly.
Right? And I'm still peeling back the layers of the onion.
Like most feminine energy, we are so much more. No.
Well, we're not even going to go there. I'm not going.
Peel back the layers. It's going to take
I
you
ain't
a long
doing that live. I'm not doing that live. But I mean, you look at it in. Well, we'll look at it in contemporary society with war, right? And everybody goes to the battle aspect, the actual physical, people versus people, right? But you also have to realize, I was actually reading the other day that in the U.S. Army currently, only 25% of the U.S. Army is combat. 75% is support.
Absolutely.
And it makes sense, right? So, you can be a warrior and not actually be in the trench.
Right,
and
on the battlefield, correct.
And that is just as valuable and necessary and needed as the trench work. right? So I think, like I said, one of the misnomers is, you know, people think of her, I think, and I'm making a judgment, okay? I think people think of her and think that they're calling her to do, calling them or whatever to do battle. Yes, I agree. But it doesn't have to be what you think of as hand to hand,
Right.
right? There's the support, taking it to, Christian thought process have really helped me with it. It's not everybody can be the hand. Sometimes you got to be the foot.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
So,
You and your analogies.
well, I have to wrap. It's easy for me to wrap my head around it because I'm kind of
Right.
simple sometimes. So it's easier to go, okay, well, that makes sense.
So tell me a little bit about how do you honor her daily? Walk us through sort of like your experience day to day and connecting with the Morrigan, kind of what she means to you.
Oh, well, first thing, my day to day, is I honor her every morning. Well, after I feed the cats, got to feed the
Cats
fry.
come first.
Yeah, because they ain't letting nothing else happen until they eat. So I feed them, and then the very next thing that I do is I start my day with her. This is my altar that's behind me. Because I also, read something that they say, whatever you do within the first 20 minutes of waking up will determine how your day goes.
Oh, that's a message that just okay.
Uh,
Okay,
yeah, I
Sam.
know, right? Because I mean, how many of us have woke up and stubbed your toe? It's all man, today's gonna suck.
Yep.
And then all day long you're affirming how sucky the day is,
Me
right?
this morning. Okay, keep going. You're talking to
Yeah.
me. Go ahead.
So I spend probably the first, after I feed the cats, probably at least 20, 30 minutes in front of her altar, just spending time with her. Meditation, thought, gripes, prayers, just kind of whatever's kind of going on. I spend that time with her every morning. Because I think for me, it's important for me to maintain that focus. And how I remind myself of my dedication and my word that I am in service to her. And it kind of helps keep me grounded, and it kind of helps keep my connection to her viable. I'm one of, well, once again, that's a judgment. I don't feel that she is distant. A lot of that, I think, is due to I work with her a lot.
Right.
I mean, as right now today, right? So I like to maintain that connection because it's comfortable for me, right? So I do that, and I do journey work at least once a week. There's something else that I have said that I would do. However, I did. This is kind of strange that we're even talking about it. I did miss last week, so I was up at 1 o'clock this morning doing journey work because she got me up.
And this is what's different. This is what's different about Sam, right? When he commits to something. And I'm not saying that I am not committed or other people who are not doing it daily consistently are not committed. I'm saying it's just a different level, and you do kind of have to be at some point all in, and you feel that presence a little bit more. A lot of people, and I know you've seen all over the boards, we've been discussing it in the groups, that she can feel distant for some people.
Mm-hmm.
I do notice that I don't really feel her around, or I don't feel those energies if I haven't done anything for or with her for a week. If I haven't done a journey, but as soon as I do a meditative journey, it's always like instant. I'll get a confirmation or some kind of validation, like, I'm here. I hear you, and things start happening. If I drop off, it's like, I will do the work if you come and do the work. That's it. I'll show up when you show up. Right?
Yeah. And I think it's like, when you have to think about it, to me, it's a relationship.
It is.
It's very much so. I have to work on relationships, whether it's with my partner, whether it's with friends, whether it's, whatever, you have to, there's not just always a take,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's got to be as much, I don't say balance because I don't think it can ever be balanced, but, I have to do the work in order to get the work done, right? Um, so, I think that helps me with that. I mean, she will let me know if I'm not holding up my end of the bargain, because
At
they're,
2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. She'll let you
exactly 3 o'clock in the morning, she
know. That's
will
crazy.
wake me up and go, okay, you didn't have enough time earlier to get it done. How about now?
You're like, how
So,
about now? You're like, wake up.
yeah. So I will get up and I'll study, whether it's read a book, I'm going through Morpheus's course, her video course on the Great Queen. And, so these are things, if I don't get them done because I don't have time, she removes the excuse, which,
Right.
it's a joke now. Because my wife will go, yeah, okay, what didn't you do this week? I'll get up about 3 o'clock and she goes, well, what didn't you do this week? You got to study, don't you? Yeah. Okay. She rolls over, goes back to sleep, and I'm up doing my work.
That's like I feel like every time I talk to you, it's about, her waking you up at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. Like, I do notice that a lot of people get that literal for you fire, that fire and that motivation during those times. And, for my audience who are just starting out with the Morrigan or other deities, just know that those urges, those inklings, those pushes are going to come at any time of the night. They are more likely to come when you have let your guard down and you've gone to sleep, and suddenly you wake up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and you're like, either I have to write or I have to create, I have to do something. And when you tap into that energy, yes, you might be tired as hell at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, but you look back and you're like, wow, like I got that done. And you can continue to do it consistently. And you start to get a feel for that God or that goddess, and you understand that this is when they wake me up. This is how I know that it's them. For Sam, it might be that time, or for me, it could be 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning when I'm having my prophetic dreams. Like, that's usually my time of the day. For other people, it's later at night. But I think that's important that you brought that up for the people who are watching and listening and really going through, their own journey of sorts to
Mm-hmm.
connect to a deity.
And I mean, there's not for me, I know, I mean, there's not oh, gee, I wonder why I'm up.
Right.
It's not like I got to have a bathroom break or nothing. It's just I'm wide awake. I'm going, okay, all right, let's do this. Yes, ma'am.
Right. Exactly. So what do you like most, and what do you find most challenging about working with the Morrigan? And let me be clear that when I say the Morrigan, I'm talking about the Great Queen, the goddess, but she's also got two sisters according to the lore. So do you also connect with them, or is it only the Morrigan? Tell us a little bit about that.
For me, it's mostly Anne Morgan, which is the Morgan. It's I personally don't see them as an archetype.
Mm-hmm.
The maiden mother crown. I don't see that. To me, they're very, in the lore, they're very specific individual. Um, I don't have much of a relationship with Maka. As of right now, she's not really speaking to me. I'm starting to have a feel for the Bive, although it's not a deep burning desire to work with her. I'm pretty much locked into the Morgan. I can, looking at the lore, you can kind of see where the different ones show up. And yeah, I'm just going to say I'm locked into the Morgan. I'm kind of rolling with her right now. She's, more than I can handle.
You're like, I don't need a sister too. Like,
Yeah,
come on now.
and I really didn't say that out loud.
You thought it though, so she heard it.
Excuse me.
I think it's important. Like, I'm not gonna go into a big lesson about who the Morrigan is and those aspects and those shapes, I, will, add some resources after we put this up, kind of where we've got our learnings from. I have learned from Morpheus Ravanna and Laura O'Brien. Both of those people are very, very good to learn from, to study the actual lore, because like you said in the beginning, there was so much misinformation, especially as somebody who, I am not an Irish native. I'm an American. And so when you're called to a pantheon where it's not really a culture, it's already kind of confusing. And so you're just looking for any information that you can get your hands on to confirm and to validate that what you're feeling is real. And so I ran into a lot of information that was written from a colonial view, a lot of information that was not written by natives. And so it was a blessing to me to end up with the Irish Pagan School, to end up with Laura O'Brien, to be taught that there is actual stories and lore, and that storytelling is extremely important in Irish culture. And so that piece of it really resonated deeply with me as a writer, as somebody who considers himself a storyteller. And so it has been extremely beneficial to learn the lore. And I don't think, I'm not going to say every single deity has that level or amount of lore attached. They don't always have, a lot of stories that that you can really get more information from. Like I was looking for Hecate and some other deities, and I just wasn't finding enough of the information that I needed. And so I had to dig deeper. But with the Morrigan, the lore is there.
Yeah.
The stories are there and they're important.
And a lot about it is, with her lore, there is one of the things that for me that stood out is the relationship. Wherever she shows up in the lore, there is an established relationship with whatever's going on. So I think, to me, that's what stood out as far as my work with her was building that relationship. It's work, right? Because, she's not I'm not going to be. She's work.
You don't want to get smacked on camera. You want to see some supernatural shit. Say some shit you're not supposed to on camera.
Yeah.
Watch him be knocked back.
Yeah.
Right.
She's work. But like we were talking earlier. There are times where why am I going through this? Why are you pushing me off a cliff? I really wouldn't change it. I really wouldn't, because I think I'm so much over these past 5 years, so much in so much a better place. I've always been kind of a control freak, right? I like to be in control of pretty much everything that's around me and make sure that things are taken care of the way that I think they should be. One of the things that she's taught me is not to do that. I very much do what she asked of me. She taught me that lesson very early on, and I don't worry about stuff. Drives my wife nuts. What are we going to do about X, Y, Z? You're doing this, that, and the other. How's that going to work out? And I'm like, it's a mystery. I don't know.
God, I need that. I need a little bit.
So that way it's a great relief for me, because all I have to do is do the work.
Just do the work. Like that's the big, just do
the work. All that other stuff will take care of itself. She plays the long game. So me trying to figure out what she's doing, I'm wasting my valuable resources instead of me just doing what she wants me to do. Just be the foot. Be the foot. You just take care of foot stuff, and I'll take care of all this other stuff.
So tell me a little bit about doing the work and the communities you've built. Talk about that, because that's really interesting to me.
Well, as far as communities, a lot of mine is right now personally is what I have built with being involved in my own local community for decades. I was vice president and president of the local CUPS chapter. So I had some, do have a little bit of resources with that, but primarily it has been, just reaching out and being me and kind of sharing people kind of where I'm at, not necessarily proselytizing or, anything like that. It's just most of my work in community building has been through smithing.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I see that very much because it's something that I've been kind of, that right now is my work. I've got to figure there's some things in there that I've got to figure out. As far as my personal growth, that's my growth edge, is my smithing. Interesting etymology with the Morrigan's parentage. You look at her father is I'm looking down my notes because I want to make sure I get it right.
Mm-hmm.
This etymology means shaped in fire or fire shaper, and her mother is iron death or death by iron.
Wow.
See,
I
to
didn't
me,
know that.
that's smithing. That's just pure,
That's exactly what that is.
I mean, I'm all, right smack dab in the middle of it. So there is a definite connection, even though she's not like Govnu, right, who's the god of smithcraft. She definitely, to me, has a very deep interest in what I'm doing. So there's something in there I gotta learn, right? That's not, I don't know if that makes sense or not, but there's a piece of it that I'm trying to figure out as I do my work, because I think it's important to the community at large. And it's not a mystery. It's just I ain't figured it out yet. I haven't done the work to figure it out yet. Okay, how about I'll own that one. I haven't quite done the work to figure it out yet, but I'm doing the work. We'll say that.
And by doing the work, do you host, you say you host workshops on the weekends or classes and groups?
I do. I have two different forge classes for the most part that I do. I do a weekend primitive blacksmithing, which is basically you're learning to smith very primitive. I mean, literally digging a hole in the ground, and using wood to forge with, and teaching people basic skills that way. Because that's how I learned. Number one, it's really inexpensive, and two, I think it's very elemental. Like because you've got the earth and fire, and there's water and air, and there's all that kind of built in. So there's that, and then I also do a magical forge weekend to where people will come and we will work on creating your own magical implements.
Oh my God, that is so cool. And so is it local or is it open to anybody who wants to come?
Well, the magical one is kind of you got to know somebody, because I don't promote that one, because that's a different level, right, than just smithing, because you can just smith, and then there's magical smithing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a completely different process. And so that's something, and everybody thinks of smithing and they think forged in fire, right? Which is really kind of cool. I wish I could do that in half an hour. If you've seen my live, I can't do it in half an hour. But I think getting back to part of my work is, in the lore, you will hear of the weapons having a spirit of their own, right? So that's kind of where I'm at with it. And I think it's very important is if I am going to have things on my altar, I want to make sure that they have right relationship, and being able to personally make them and view them, have that thought. Yes. I think that's very important. And what better than to actually, be able to yourself be able to make things like that for your own personal, which was my thought with it. Because it's not all about sharp, pointy things, right? I mean, I mean, there's so much, you can put that love and dedication into your piece, and then when you see it on your altar, it has that energy, it has that life, right? Because I do think there is life in metal.
Absolutely.
So I don't mean to go on a tangent, but
no, I like your tangents.
We'll go down the rabbit hole.
No, this is where you shine. It's the tangents. It's because I am a control freak too, and so I'm also a journalism major, so I always have my list of questions, but I know that Spirit's going to take over after the first question, and so I know that if I ask you a question and you go off on a tangent, it's supposed to be. So whatever you say is supposed to be said. And so I'm grateful for your presence. I'm grateful for the fact that you were such an amazing teacher, because I will tell you that Sam, something that's probably very little to him, but I was told that I needed to make my own mead. And it took me about 3 weeks to decipher this message, to make the mead and offer it to her during Samhain. And I said to myself, how do I even start this process? So of course I'm Googling everything, and I had put a post about it, and Sam answered, and he says, you're making it more difficult than it has to be. And I'm like, I know it's only like literally 3 ingredients, but seriously, the shit is not working. And so I'm telling you, it took me 4 times. When you said, just follow the directions and just feel it. Like this is not have to be difficult. So I got out of my own way. I said, Sam said, keep going, because you did. You said, well, try it again. And if you can, just try it again. And so I did. I tried 4 times. When I finally made it, it was such a sense of like satisfaction that I created something that I didn't think I would create. And to a lot of people, it might not be a big deal, but it was a huge deal to me, because first of all, I'm not a cook. I don't like creating with my hands. I prefer to pretty much buy everything. But working with, in Morrigan, it's been, no, you need to figure out how to create with your own hands. You need to figure out how to make these things, because there's not always going to be somebody around to just give it to you, or that you can purchase it, because the power is in the alchemy of it. And like you said, it's working with the elements, and it's bringing together all these pieces. That's where the magic is. And so thank you so much for saying that, because I'm grateful for you. You have taught me a ton. And I even have somebody on here that said, I think it's Mara, it's an excellent weekend course. My husband and I loved it. Somebody else said he's a phenomenal teacher, and I will back all of that like 1,000%. I brought you on. I said to myself, who do I need to bring up here? And I had faces that would flash in front of me. And when it got to you, I was like, yeah, like, why didn't I think of that? Like, seriously, because Sam is the best. He is the most amazing teacher. And so if you do run that course, I would love for you to just tell the people how to get in touch with you, your website, how to connect with you, and any other things you offer can or want to leave us with.
Okay. First off, before I get into how to get in touch with me, I'd like to kind of circle back and revisit magical items, because I think it's important, especially, well, I don't say especially now, but I think it's important now. I think that the more that we can surround ourselves with magic, or those things that remind us of magic or of relationship, I think the more you pay attention to something, the more you're going to find it, right? Buy a car. You'll see a bazillion of them on the road. You never saw one before. Why is that? Because you're paying attention to it.
Right.
Okay.
Like all those signs, correct.
So I think, and with doing magical work, I do take it very seriously, because it is my primarily working with and for her. I have a shrine of her down at the smithy that, if you've ever seen any pictures that I've taken from my fort before I get to work, it's just kind of, people just say, why do you keep taking pictures of the woods? I'm not. I'm taking pictures of the shrine. Because her shrine's right there. And that's what I look at as I smith. but there's so many ways that you can bring that aspect into your life, whether it be a simple pendant of some sort, whether you want something larger, more intense like a wand, or you want, I make these, I call them tablets. They're little squares that I can actually, chisel in a sigil that you can put in your pocket,
Oh,
and carry it around. Obviously you've got all kinds of altar stuff, whether it be altar dishes. I can do both steel and copper. My altar's being taken over by copper at the moment, so I have a lot of copper on it. It kind of goes. She goes back and forth with it, but there's so much that you can do to kind of bring that into your life every day to kind of give you those reminders that, hey, I need to make sure I'm in the right relationship. That's how I look at it. That's where I had someone make this. This is my oath ring. It hasn't come off in 5 years because this is my this is my. I'm bound to her.
Yeah.
So this is my reminder every
That's
time
amazing.
every time, and it's, every time I grab it or see it or move it around, it's like, yes, it's that gentle reminder that kind of helps me check myself, right? So I try to look at these things as I go through my personal life every day. What can I do to kind of check myself, right? And then magical smithings, it is ritual. I mean, it's not just, it's not like alive. Alive is not what I do when I forge a magical item. There's a complete ritual that she has helped me develop for that. So I think that's important because that's an item that you're using for that, and it needs to be sacred. So all the work needs to be sacred, right? I think that's important. So as far as how to get in touch with me, the best way is to over on Facebook, Ravens Keep Forge. You can message me. I've got bazillions of pictures up there. I'm sure I've got quite a few on Instagram. I'm kind of new to Instagram, so I'm not quite as hip with that as I am with Facebook. But you could probably get lost in the pictures. And there's all my live videos I've saved and kept up there, so you can kind of wander through those. I'm not very good at cataloging things. I was actually told yesterday that I need to start putting on what I'm making. So I need to, so it's easier to kind of go through. I don't want to watch that. I'll watch this, because most of mine are just, hey, let's hang out. I'm not very organized.
I mean, it's funny because I wasn't very organized either. And then I was told that I needed to get organized because there was going to be more opportunities coming and it will require formal processes and at least just make sure that, you can get to what you need to get to. And so I share that challenge with you because it's been very difficult to keep up with this consistent schedule, to have all of these things organized. It's just the business processes behind the magic of it, the mundane, right? That's still very, very necessary. Right.
Yeah.
And we get back to just do the work, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. This has been amazing. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I will say that Sam can make custom pieces, and I actually was going to reach out to you this week after I saw that wand with the quartz, the aura quartz.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I need a little piece, but I have to journey about it and see exactly what it has to be. I'm just feeling like I need something to direct some energy. And so he is perfect to talk to you about exactly what your vision is. Even if you don't know exactly what it is, you put two things together. Yes, just figure it out because he's amazing.
So kind of give you an idea of that particular wand, because every one of them's different. They all have their own life, right? We kind of had an idea of what it was, and we kind of worked on it for several months, what it was kind of going to look like. We actually went stone shopping together via Messenger.
Wow.
Right? I have one place that I buy my stones from. That's it. That's the only place I buy them because I've known them for, 20 years, and I absolutely love it. If it exists, it's there. I mean, it's a marvelous place. So we went, and I would sit there and I would grab one and I'd take a picture and send it. What do you think? No, yes, maybe, okay, maybe's a no.
So
And
it's
we kind of did
virtual
that.
smithing at that point.
So we went, and we probably took a couple of hours shopping for the stone. And I'm like, well, we'll know it's not my item, right? So I try to be a little disengaged with it, right? Because it's their piece, right? So it needs to make sure that that it speaks to them. When we found it, it was like, oh, boom, that's the stone. And then I'm like, all right, well, how am I going to, now I got to figure out the technical part. How am I going to get all this to work together? And it worked not at all like I thought it was originally, because once I go get into the forge work, I show up, pay attention, and let go of the outcome. Because I a lot of times become what I call an active spectator.
Oh, I love that. And that's really a lesson for life. Seriously.
I think so. So yeah, I mean, it's, so that one took several months to make. As far as you look at the time of when it was, okay, I want to get one, to when it actually became a want. So yeah, I think I get too big in a hurry sometimes. So I think it's a good lesson of the patience that I mentioned that I don't like earlier, way back when. It's something that's that important, you don't want to rush it, and it needs to work the way it needs to work.
Agreed.
I don't know if that makes sense.
That
I'm
makes
rambling.
perfect sense. Thank you so much. I think, wow, you're good at this. You can lead your own discussions, right? You don't even need me at this point. It's almost 11 o'clock.
I always need you. You're my sister.
And that's
You're my
why I
sister.
brought you up, because I knew you would say it, because I paid him to say it. Thank you so much. I am going to be saving this. I'll be adding all of your information on the bottom.
Thank you.
Love you, brother.
I love you too.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.